So let's be honest here. Have you ever looked at yourself and thought, I don't really feel good about myself? It's like my boobs are too big or too small. Like, I don't like the way I look. I don't like the way I feel. Like, my gut is hanging out of my pants. I don't know, whatever it is, right? So if that's there for you at all in any way, shape, or form, this is the episode for you. Like, totally, hands down. So stay tuned. So this is a two-part series because this is such a juicy topic and we need to talk about it. And we are so super thrilled to have Dr. Kara MoraMarco Kenrick with us, who is a doctor of acupuncture and East Asian medicine, earning both her master's and doctorate degrees from Emperor's College. Her passion is healthful living, and it began from an early age. I can't believe you had both parents that were acupuncturists. That's so cool. Welcome, Kara.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, well, I love it. I know you have so much to contribute because you practice in Beverly Hills. Hello, yeah. Right? The capital. I don't know if it is the capital, but I'm going to arguably say it might be a central for, plastic surgeries and stuff like that and Botox.
Probably.
I don't know if that's true. Yeah. Anyway, so you're there and you focus on women's health. And recently you've done some work with facial acupuncture and love cupping, which we want you to show everybody what the heck that is. But it was featured in Katy Perry's latest video, which is called Never Really Over. So if you haven't seen it, you need to check it out. It is so cool. I was so impressed with that video and that she actually promoted basically our profession and natural medicine in itself. So
I was so happy.
Why don't you start there?
Yeah.
Show us your heart-shaped cups. Tell us what they are.
Okay. We have our fire cups, which are ceramic, and we have our new air suction love cups, and they're really fun, really easy to use.
Yeah. Literally, it's like you suck the air out like a vacuum, right?
And so for the lay person who doesn't even know what those are, tell us about them and how do you use them?
So cupping therapy is really great to increase the circulation. So fresh oxygenated blood flow comes to the area. A lot of us have tension and tightness in our neck and shoulders and back, especially with all of the working from home and being at the computer all day. So cupping is really great to loosen up the muscles and get the lymphatics flowing, also good for muscle recovery. So it's really great for anyone with pain and tension in their body. And then it's also used traditionally in Chinese medicine to release if you have a cough or a cold. Obviously, we're not really doing that in the office right now due to COVID, but it is a technique that we really good for asthma and things like that because it can work on the lungs.
And when we use them, they often leave a circle behind, but you came up with this brilliant idea to leave behind hearts, right?
So we get little heart marks instead of the circles. So they're really cute. And some people didn't want to do cupping just because of the marks, which can range in color from a very dark purple to a very light pink, depending on the stagnation. So having it a heart mark really just makes it cuter.
Encourages you. Yeah.
Well, so again, for those that are not familiar with this, you can literally see Katy Perry's video and it actually shows that. And then to add in, Gwyneth Paltrow years ago at Academy Awards wore a low back dress, which actually sported the cups, not your love cupping, but just cupping in of itself. And I thought that was so cool. And I guess she must have done that intentionally.
So she had circle marks on
she
her
had
back.
Circle marks on her back going to the Academy Awards, which is so cool.
Promoting
we're diverting a bit,
Yes.
but it's okay because we are having a two-part episode. And basically we're talking about secrets to staying young and youthful, because who doesn't want to do that? We're going to look at the elixirs of youth and coming at it from an Eastern perspective. So, so thrilled to have you. And I guess before we get into the solutions, we really need to look and address the problems that we are actually witnessing now, and especially in the time of a pandemic, right? Everybody's on their computer. So tell us the problem, one of the problems.
The unrealistic standards of beauty governed by social media is a really good place I would love to start. And I would love for you to just explain like what kind of unrealistic expectations are given by social media and like in terms of how we should look and why women are so hard on themselves about their appearance because of this.
Right. Well, it is an issue and it's growing. And there was actually a documentary called Social Dilemma on Netflix, and they went through the statistics, and preteens, I think this was probably in like around 2012 when social media started to become really popular, the suicide rate went up 150% and self-harm went up like tripled. So it is an issue. So, you know, also with the Snapchat filters and all of the Instagram filters right now, everyone thinks they should look a certain way, which is not realistic. Like these filters make your skin totally flawless. There's filters that, you know, make the lips fuller, change your eye shape. Just they completely change your face, and it's not real life. This is not how people look. So when they see themselves, you know, without a filter, they think something's wrong with them, when in reality, this is, you know, it's natural when we age to start to have some fine lines, you know, and yeah, it's a big problem.
It is. And so when you say preteen, let's put it into perspective. We're talking 10-year-olds to 14-year-olds.
Yeah.
And so it's such a, and thank you so much for speaking to me the other day, because I actually started watching that social dilemma, which is on Netflix. Yeah. And oh my gosh, I think everyone like really needs to watch it as a parent, as just a young person, even, you know, just to have a handle on the realities of this addiction of social media and
just to be aware, you know, we could still be on it, but be aware of what it's doing to us. And like the dopamine hits we get when you get the likes. And then if you do a post that doesn't get so many likes, you know, it's crazy and it's sad, but it can actually bring your mood down, which is ridiculous in a way. And if you get a lot of likes, you're happier. So it's an issue.
And even seeing people happy, the pictures that we generally post are of us happy. And so then you have this unrealistic expectation that that's how that person's life is. And so you're then comparing too, right? That you should be happy all the time.
Most people just, you know, they post their highlights. So you think they have this amazing life, but they could be struggling with same things you're struggling with.
I've
being
seen
able
a rise
to separate yourself and, you know, use it in a healthy way.
Yeah, definitely. I've seen a rise in women with a condition I'm sure you know of, but I'll just explain it. The hypothalamic amenorrhea, where you lose your periods from getting too slim, and anorexia is usually the cause. So not eating, getting really underweight, not having enough fat stores, and even cutting just from like this place of just really being down on yourself, and all related to, you know, body image issues. Can you speak to ways in which women can look at embracing their natural beauty some more before we kind of jump into other topics on solutions on natural aging?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that now people are starting to be more aware and have, you know, like more inclusivity and showing models that are different sizes to really, you know, show that, not everyone is a size 0. In fact, mostly, you know, the models, it's unhealthy. You know, they're not eating, they're doing drugs, and they lose their periods, like you said. So it's normal for women to have some, you know, fat around their belly. That's where we produce, you know, we have our hormones, and you want to have your monthly period. If you're losing that, it's showing a sign that internally something's off. So yeah, I think being happy in your body is obviously really important, and knowing that, you know, a little bit of cellulite is normal. Almost everyone has it. And you know, we are seeing more pictures of like stretch marks with glitter in them and things like that to kind of normalize.
Oh, really?
Oh, that's a great idea.
Oh my gosh, like where? Like for advertisements? What is that?
Yeah,
I haven't heard of that.
It might be an app that does it, but it's really beautiful.
Aw. Yeah.
Wow. Okay,
Highlighting
so that's positive.
features.
Yeah, I certainly see, Dove is definitely a big proponent of reality in women, right? Like the company. I love, I don't know if you've seen those Dove commercials. They'll use different women of different sizes.
Yes,
and
yes.
even I think they've showed, was it them that showed like women who have had breast cancer? I don't even remember. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do. And then women of different cultures, ethnic backgrounds, sizes, shapes. And yeah, I remember it was beautiful. They had some really nice pictures of women of all cultures and sizes and shapes. But I don't remember what they were marketing.
And just like as a side note, and to kind of finish off this social media talk, young women are going to their plastic surgeons and like showing them face filters and wanting to look like these filters. And I feel like, everyone's going to start to look the same. And I think that in a few years, it's not going to be trendy anymore. People are going to want to go for the more natural look, and this, plastic surgery look of everyone looking the same. We see it a lot walking around in LA. It's not going to be so popular.
That's a really good note. And so we can keep on having this kind of conversation so other people will say, hey, it's not so cool to look like everybody else, right?
Yeah, I feel like women are getting Botox, fillers, and cosmetic changes, plastic surgery younger and younger. And sure, we look super beautiful in a picture with these procedures, but unfortunately, there's this, kind of disconnect, if you get real, when you actually see somebody in real life, the facial expressions aren't there. Can you talk to that a little bit more?
Yeah, so there was actually a 2011 study from University of California, and they researched, women with Botox and how their babies reacted. And they showed that they didn't have the emotional connection because they couldn't see the emotions, which it could be a problem. So something to be aware of. Most people wouldn't necessarily think of how is this going to affect my baby, but babies mimic what they see. And if they're not seeing the facial expressions, they're not getting that attachment. So it was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And
absolutely, I can see that.
Younger and younger. I mean, I have some patients come in and they're in their very early 20s and they've been getting Botox. Nothing totally against Botox, but it's everyone's choice. But at 20, it's really sad. I can understand, okay, maybe 65, but 20 years old, it's good to know that there's other alternatives like facial acupuncture.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And just natural ways to age gracefully and embrace the lines and recognize that they are natural facial expressions, and maybe less Botox. So there's less so that we can see the facial expressions. And it's interesting how in each culture, there are different focuses. So Western people, we tend to Botox the frown lines and we put in breast implants. And in Brazil, they tend to have a focus on butt implants. And there's the double eyelid surgery in Asia. So it's kind of interesting how each culture has their focus. I think that it's just really important to also speak to ways that we can just embrace ourselves naturally and just really spend more time perhaps focusing on how we can just age gracefully.
Right. So then that brings to mind, because you are a doctor of Chinese medicine, so let's come at it from an Eastern perspective in terms of, how do we, in our tradition, look at aging? Because, what we're speaking to it's quite negative, right? In terms of, gosh, if you're aging, then you're saggy and we don't want to be any part of it. Right? But really, the traditional viewpoint is different. Can you address that?
Right. So in Chinese medicine, we like to look at, there's different organs that have different functions, and the kidneys are really like our vitality. So we're born with a certain amount, we call it like essence or jing, and there's precongenital, so what we're born with, and that depends on our parents, and then post-conception, so our postnatal essence, and that's what we can conserve and what we can, take care of. That's from how we live our life, what we eat, how we breathe, how our emotions are. So that is in our control. And so we want to kind of conserve that as much as possible and, put some extra in the bank so that we can, keep our vitality and our youthfulness. And
Totally.
there's different ways we can do that.
And so in terms of how do we nourish that then? Let's, do a deep dive into this, because this is really juicy stuff, right? Because again, we want to shift the focus on that outward thinking of like, I need to have pristine skin. And it's like, we always talk about, helping ourselves from the inside out, right? Which is what Chinese medicine would be focusing on. So can you speak more to that?
Right. So there are, there are different ways. And one thing, just kind of bringing it back for, say, if it's our younger, the younger viewers listening, or if they're children, what we do, we can't go back in the past. We can, control what we're doing in the future. But if you are young and you want to give tips for what you can do now, is really, taking care of your body when you're young. You're going to have more youthfulness when you're older. So if you think of like a car that has 200,000 miles on it and you park it in a garage and, want to use it later, it's still going to have those miles. You can't, turn back the odometer. But what we can do is, all of the like extra partying, alcohol, drugs, if you're really doing a lot of that when you're young, it's going to show in your older age. So
totally.
Smoking.
Some people
like you
smoking.
see that. We see that.
Absolutely. You think when you're young and resilient, you can bounce back from all of that, and you can bounce back faster, but it's going to have an effect later on in your life. For sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what is smoking and partying and drugs? What does it do to our ovaries and our sperm, or as men?
Exactly. Right. Yeah. So we want as much antioxidants as we can, and that's just oxidizing everything more.
Yeah.
And so it's depleting our kidney, like our jing, as we call it. That's like our essence. And the kidneys are responsible for aging and reproduction. So like premature graying hair, if you have a lot of weakness in the low back and knees, things like that. So we really want to strengthen that system, and things like
affects our skin too, right?
Yeah, skin, right? The yin, like we want to be moist and plump, and the yin can dry up. So we don't want to burn the candle at both ends, right? Overworking, constant work without that yin time, without that rest time, is going to deplete your yin.
And again, I loved how you guys both brought in about, it can be expressed in the face too. Like, so if you're tired, if you're not sleeping, it's going to show on your face. If you've, been smoking for 20, for 30 years, it may show on your face. You may prematurely start getting, it's very yin consuming. So the cells literally start to like shrivel up, and you can have premature aging, right?
Yeah, and not only that, from smoking, you get the lines around your lips.
Oh, yes, of course. Repetitive movement.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Don't
of course.
smoke.
And
smoking is not good.
No.
Yeah.
We know that, but it's still shocking to know that people do.
And we're born with all of our eggs as women, and whatever we do, it carries forward. They don't regenerate. So the less is better in terms of smoking and drugs and alcohol. And even being out in the sun, something you can do is just stay in the shade a little bit more, get a little bit of, the exposure on your arms, but sunscreen. Young women, wear sunscreen. Don't bake.
Yes.
It's not cool.
Some of the patients that come in for facial acupuncture, if they've had a lot of sun exposure, you can honestly, they can look 5 to 10 years older.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Even things, so people focus on their face maybe, or fat around the middle. But if you also have like other discomforts, like even pain shows up on the face, right?
Yeah.
And that can age you too if you have chronic pain. So it's like, let's deal with the pain, and then that may actually reduce the look of aging on your face and and the rest of the body.
Yeah, because there's probably some underlying inflammatory condition that would be oxidative stress, like Kara said too, that's causing some more wrinkling or aging and drying out the fluids. And I love how you were talking about like nourishing the yin and resting. So tell us more, some tips on nourishing your yin, which is what gives us that, you said, you know, the supple, juicy skin. Nourishment. Yeah.
Nourishment. Well, I know you guys just had a episode about sleep and a few parts to it, but it really cannot be stressed enough. I think it's like one of the most essential things to have proper rest and proper sleep. We call it like beauty sleep, right? And especially in Chinese medicine, we like to, you know, we always say for like fertility and for women to try to be in bed by 11. I have to say I'm a little guilty for staying up later than that. Although for a long time I did go to bed early. But yeah, if we're not getting enough sleep, we're not replenishing. So that is, you know, one aspect. And then as far as the yin and nourishing, you know, stress and overwork is a big factor. It's gonna wear on us and it's gonna show in our face too. So learning how to deal with our emotions and, you know, not repress them it's gonna be a big help. So whether it's meditation or, you know, doing an exercise or dance class that you love, or just, you know, going on a walk, talking with friends, something that can, you know, you can share your emotions and learn how to deal with them is going to help.
Yeah. So connection is huge. And then movement, definitely. I find when I work out, I feel like, in my head, my neurotransmitters are probably buzzing and floating in there and telling me that I look younger, but I also see the vitality and the circulation. And I have patients who have said that they haven't worked out, and suddenly when they start to, they can see it in their face and their friends see it in their face, even if their weight hasn't shifted, right?
Yeah. Better circulation, better oxygenation, more nutrients getting to where they need to go, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
So I want to add in now, and maybe you can address this too. So here's the thing. There's the ideal. Yes, we should get the 8 hours of sleep. Yes, of course, we want to minimize our stress. And then there's our lives, right? Like, so depending on what stage you're in, like, let's say you have a brand new baby, or, you know, you have this crazy project that you need to work on. And the reality is, if you don't hit the deadline, you're done. So it's then you actually do physically lose sleep. So what do you do? What would your advice be around these kinds of times of your lives and around that? Like, how do you get around it?
Well, I would say, like, in the short term, you know, don't worry if every night you're not getting the most sleep. For example, this morning I got up earlier, so I got maybe an hour less than I normally do. So, you know, don't be hard on yourself. It's the chronic, it's the, you know, 5-6 nights a week of only getting 5 hours. And then of course with a new baby, that's a little different. That's a special time, but being, you know, taking the time to rest when you can, you know, not saying yes to everything. It's like, give yourself the permission to rest. I know for like myself on the weekends, I like, my spirit animal is a sloth. Like, I just like lay on the couch.
That's so funny.
Yeah. I'm very yin. It's kind of like a joke with my husband because he's a trainer. So he's funny. Like, I do everything when I work out to conserve the most energy. So I actually have to push myself because otherwise everything would be in slow motion.
Wow. Okay.
No.
Okay. I'm just going to comment here because there's no way this is what I see you as, because I saw a little clip on your Instagram, I believe, and you were practicing your martial arts thing and you're like crazy going, like, what is it called?
Capoeira. It's an Afro-Brazilian martial art.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen it before, but like, you're like super speedy. You're like awesome.
Yeah, so that was like, I was turning it on for the camera.
Oh wait, did you like put it on fast mode? No,
that was real speed. I mean, I can do it, but I have to like I have to be pushed. It's not my natural state.
Right. Or maybe because she is so yin and she accesses that power animal that she can then focus enough to be so,
in that moment.
Well, because I've conserved. So I have that extra juice in there.